Hello, I'm Laura Foote, and today in Maths Literacy we're going to be looking at some mixed examples. We're going to be mainly looking at paper 2 questions, which are a little bit more difficult, and therefore our key concepts are identifying parts of problems, breaking down problems into smaller parts, and looking at methods of solving problems. So let's start on our different problems. Example 1. Let's change to a better pen. Example 1. Rodman's Transport Company hires buses out for schools for transport. The following table shows the cost of hiring a bus with a seating capacity of 50. In other words, it's got 50 seats, and that's how many children can go on that one bus. The table below shows the cost of hiring a 50-seater bus from Rodman's Transport Company, and you can see that the distance travelled is the return distance travelled. That's the total distance that they would have travelled on, and this is the cost of the return trip. Use the table to answer the following questions. Number 1, calculate the cost of a return trip if one-way distance is 45 kilometers. So the key words here is return, and we need to then work out what is the return distance. Okay, my return distance is going to be 2 lots of the one-way distance. It's going to be there and back again, so it'll be 45 times 2, and that will give me a distance of 90 kilometers. If you can't do that in your head, make sure that you actually have used your calculator. And is this my final answer? No, because they've asked for the cost. So I need to look at my table, and I see that if it is between 50 and 100, which is where 90 kilometers falls, my cost is going to be 750 Rand. So my cost is equal to 750 Rand. So the way they could have caught you out on that one is that they could have actually presumed that you weren't going to notice that the cost was for your return trip. So read carefully. B, the return distance is 125 kilometers. Now, if we look back at this table, it says if there is 100 kilometers or more, it is 750 plus 5 Rand per kilometer over 100 kilometers. So we know that 100 kilometers is equal to 750 Rand. And then every kilometer over 100 kilometers, and in this case it's going to be 25 kilometers over, is equal to 5 Rand per kilometer. So it's going to be 5 Rand times 25 kilometers, which is equal to, using our calculator, 5 times 25 equals 125 Rand. This means that our total trip, return trip that is going to cost the 750 Rand plus 125 Rand, which is equal to, plus the 750 here, 875 Rand. Right, the next question. Part 2. Complete the formula below, which can be used to calculate the cost in Rand for a return trip greater than 100 kilometers. And remembering now that when we traveled 100 kilometers, our cost was 750 Rand, and more than 700 more than 100 kilometers was equal to 5 Rand per kilometer. So our cost is then going to be our 750 plus the amount over 100 times by 5 Rand. And I would put that in brackets. It doesn't necessarily have to be in brackets, but it would probably be easier. In order to find the amount over 100, it's going to have to be your return amount, your return kilometers, minus your 100 to work out how much it is over 100. And I'm going to leave all the rest in there. And then I need to times that by 5 Rand. So that would be my final formula. 750 Rand, which is what it cost before we went over 100 kilometers. And then the return kilometers, in the previous example, that was 125, minus 100, which would have given us 25, times the 5 Rand. So now, checking back with the previous example, we know that that formula will work. Now it says, using the above formula, calculate the distance traveled for a return trip costing 1,650 Rand. So we know that cost is equal to 750 plus the return kilometers, so I'm just writing kilometers, minus 100 times by 5 Rand, or the amount over 100 kilometers. And that's basically what we're going to try and find out, is the amount over 100 kilometers, because we can see that it's well over 750 Rand, so therefore it will be over 100 kilometers. Right, let's see how we're going to solve this. So we know that the answer is 1,650, and that's equal to 750 plus the amount over 100 kilometers times by 5 Rand. If I take 750 off both sides, I'm left with, I can say 1,650 minus the 750 is equal to 900 kilometers, sorry, 900 Rand. Maybe I should put in the R signs. And so that's going to be the amount over 100 kilometers times by the 5 Rand. So in order to find out how many kilometers are over 100 kilometers, we need to divide both sides by 5 Rand. So I'm going to divide this by 5 Rand, and what I do to this side I have to do this. So I'm going to divide that by 5 Rand. So I've got 900 Rand divided by 5 is equal to 180 is equal to the amount over 100 kilometers. Please note that this is the amount over 100 kilometers, so therefore the total return trip will be equal to 100, because that's what we had before. That was the 750, what this 750 was all about, plus our 180 kilometers. So altogether they would have traveled 280 kilometers. If we want to go back and check, we could actually use that formula. So the cost is equal to this is my check, is 750 plus, this is the amount we found was over 100 times 5. And if I'm correct, I should get back to my original answer. So 750 plus 180 times 5 equals 1,650. So therefore, my answer is correct. that answer is 180. The swimming team has to transport 47 of its members to a gala that is going to be held 20 kilometers away from the school. The team has the option of hiring buses from Rodwin's transport company, so you can see that it's still part of the previous question, or using minibuses from a taxi company. The taxi company charges 15 Rand per head, as long as there are at least 10 passengers, which is your minimum number of people in the taxi, and each minibus can accommodate a maximum of 15 passengers. Right, using this information, analyze the information and determine the minimum number of taxis or minibuses that would be needed to transport the 47 members of the swimming team. Right, we know that the maximum number of people per taxi or minibus is equal to 15. So I need to take my 47 and share it between and find out how many 15s there are in my 47. So I'm going to say 47 divided by 15, and I get an answer of 3.133 recurring, going on. Now, obviously, I can't have point something of a taxi. It either has to be a whole number. So it's either going to be 3 or 4 taxis needed. And if I choose 3, I'm going to have a problem where I've got 1 or 2 people that aren't going to fit in. So I need to go to the 4 option. So even though this number would naturally be rounded down, in order for us to actually keep all the people in the taxi, we actually need to round up. So therefore, 4 taxis needed. Otherwise, somebody's going to get left behind. And then it says, hence, name one possible way that 47 members of the swimming team can be divided among these minibuses. Now, the key thing we need to remember is that in these minibuses, the minimum was 10 and my maximum was 15, and my total needs to be 47. And obviously, I've got 4 taxis. So I'm going to draw my 4 boxes so that I know. And then I need to think about how am I going to make 47. So when I add them all up, they need to equal 47. And I need to choose numbers that are above 10 and below 15 that add up to 47. And obviously there's going to be lots of different options. So let's add 12 and 12 is 24, plus another 12 is 36. And let's see what 47 minus 36 is equal to 11. So that works perfectly. Obviously, I could have had different numbers as long as my numbers were above 10 and below 15, and they added up to be 47. Right, the last part, which is usually the part which you need to actually start thinking, it says identify the cheaper option of transporting the 47 members. Show all your calculations. In other words, justify your answers. And in maths, justifying your answer is usually with calculations. So I've got 47 children that I need to put. And so my bus option, let's go back to the information we had about our bus at Rodwin's bus. It had 50 seats. So we only need to have one bus. Okay, 47 children will fit on one bus. And we are going 20 kilometers, so the one bus will cost us 500 Rand. So let's fill that information into our question. So one bus is needed, 20 kilometers traveled, therefore cost is going to be 500 Rand. For the taxi option, or minibus, we would need 4 taxis, but it didn't really matter how many taxis we had as long as there were more than 10 in each taxi, and it was 15 Rand per person. So the cost of our taxi is going to be 15 Rand times the 47 children, and obviously we would have to spread them out so that you had over 10 in each taxi. So 15 times 47 is equal to 705 Rand. So therefore, very obviously, you can see that your bus costs 500 and your minibus taxis cost 705. Therefore, the most sensible or the cheaper option is going to be going by bus. And you can see that I have clearly justified, I've explained very clearly why and how I've got those costs, and therefore I can prove very clearly and very easily that the bus is the cheaper option. Example 2. Twins Annie and Sally are hosting their 21st birthday party. The twins can choose from the following 2 options for the catering for their party. Option 1, they pay 125 Rand per head, which means per person, which includes the payments for the venue, but excludes the 14% value added tax, which is VAT. So in order to work this one out, you would need to say 125 Rand times the number of people, and then you need to take your answer and times and add on the 14% VAT. The second option, they have to pay 5,000 Rand for the hire of the venue, and then 85 Rand per head, again per person for the catering, but it does include the 14% VAT. So in order to work this one out, you'd have to pay for the 5,000 Rand for the venue and add on the 85 Rand times by the number of people that we actually are going to be inviting to our party. It says analyze the 2 options and determine which one would be the cheaper option if 100 people in total attend the party. Show all calculations. So first of all, we're going to be looking at option 1. We now know that we've got 100 people, and we're going to have to say 125 Rand times the number of people, and in this case it's 100 people, and I'll get an answer, and then I'm going to take that answer and work out what my VAT is, which is going to be 14% of that amount, and then I'm going to have to add them together to find out the total cost. So let's get out my calculator. 125 times 100 is equal to 12,500. And now we need to find out what 14% of that is. So I'm going to times this answer by 14%. And that's 1,750. So my total cost is going to be adding those two together. So I'm just going to add on my 12,500, which is 14,250 Rand. So that was for option 1. Option 2, remember we had to pay for our venue as well as 85 Rand per person, but we didn't have to add on VAT. So our venue was 5,000 Rand, and we need to add on 85 Rand per person, and remember this time we've also got 100 people. So if I did that on my calculator, it's going to be 5,000 plus 85 times 100, and I get 13,500. So the total cost of option 2, and note that I've labeled very clearly which is option 1 and which is option 2. So my total cost for option 2 is 13,500, and then I need to actually say which is the cheaper option, because that is the question. It says determine which one would be the cheaper option. So I need to actually have a conclusion. The cheaper option is option 2. And make sure it's very clear. Example 3. Simon started working for a construction company on the 3rd of July 2009, and he earns a net income of 150,000 per annum without any bonus. What does that actually mean? Net income means that that is after tax, and per annum is per year. He set aside 9,500 Rand per month for his monthly expenses, and each month set aside 80% of the balance towards a deposit for a car. So he obviously earns a certain amount per month. He then pays all these expenses, which is in the table below here. So these are his expenses for the month. And then whatever's left over, he then saves for his car. So the first question is, calculate Simon's net monthly salary. So we know what his net annual salary is. Let's write that down. Net annual is equal to 150,000. And if we want to find out monthly from annual, we need to divide this by 12. So therefore his net monthly salary is equal to 150,000 divided by 12. So 150,000 divided by 12 is equal to 12,500 Rand. So he earns 12,500 Rand per month. And then they ask the next question is, how much did he save towards the deposit of a car each month? So we know that he earns, his salary per month is equal to 12,500. His expenses, according to the table above, are 9,500. So his amount that he's got left over are those two numbers taken away from each other. So 12,500, we still got that on our calculators. So we're going to take away the 9,500, which leaves him with 3,000 Rand over to save. How much does he save for his car? He saves 80% of that balance. So whatever's left over, he takes 80% of it for his car savings. So his car savings are equal to 80% of that 3,000 Rand. So 3,000 times 80% is equal to 2,400 Rand. So he saves every month 2,400 Rand towards a deposit for his car. Please remember that you need to show all of your steps of your working out, and it's always a good idea to label everything clearly, because if you've used the wrong numbers you will still get method marks. So that's very, very important. Let's go on to the next question. Simon was advised to invest some of his monthly savings in a special monthly savings account that pays more interest. He thus invested 2,000 Rand of his monthly savings each month into this account. The monthly savings on this account paid an interest rate of 10.8% per annum. Please note it's per annum, not per month, compounded monthly. Use the formula below to calculate the total amount that he will have for his deposit if he saves monthly for 11 months. Please look carefully at what the formula is and actually note what these actual symbols mean. They always will explain what the symbols mean. So F is the amount received, so that's actually how much his savings is going to be worth at the end of the 11 months. X is the amount invested, so in this case we're going to have 2,000 Rand per month, so that's your monthly amount invested. The monthly interest rate is not going to be the 10.8%, okay, that's per annum, so we need to work that out. So the monthly interest rate is obviously going to be your 10.8% divided by 12. Using our calculator to help us, 10.8 divided by 12 is equal to 0.9%. So that's actually what I'm going to use is 0.9%. I'm going to write that in so that I remember, and 0.9, don't forget the percentage sign as well. And N is the number of months. Sometimes it could be years, so read carefully what it is implying here, and that's 11 months that we've invested our money for. Right, so let's work out how much is his savings. I'm just going to plug all of this information into our formula, and then we can actually plug it into our calculator, and it's a very easy sum. So square brackets, 1 plus 0.9 with my percentage sign to the power of 11 minus 1, close my square brackets, all over 0.9%. Right, now we're just going to use this in our calculator. I'm going to make sure I've got it in fraction form, so it's very easy to have the top numbers on top and the bottom numbers underneath, so I don't have to worry about where my divides are and where my brackets are. And I'm going to type it in exactly as it looks. And that's why the natural display calculators are excellent. And it has a double bracket. It doesn't have a square bracket on my calculator, but the round one will work fine. Plus 0.9 shift %, close my brackets, to the power of 11. Make sure I've got away from the power sign, minus 1, close my brackets, make sure I'm underneath now, and 0.9 and a %. Make sure my cursor's at the end and push equals. And my answer should be 23,017 cents. Sorry, 23,017 Rand and 22 cents. You can see that I've rounded that from 21,7 to 21.22 cents. So money always has 2 decimal places. Remember that. And that is my final answer. A way to check if I've got a sensible answer is that if I had to invest it with no interest, would be 2,000 times 11 is 22,000 Rand. So therefore my answer should be just slightly more with the interest. And that's a check to make sure that I've got a reasonable answer. And that is my final answer. Please label if you are doing any checks so that the examiners know that that's not part of your answer. Number 3. On the 1st of July 2010, Simon receives a 10% increase. Calculate Simon's new monthly net salary. Okay, we know that his net salary was 12,500. Looking back at our previous questions, 12,500. And we need to increase this by 10%. So we need to work out what his increase is. So that's going to be 10% of 12,500. And we can work that out on a calculator. 12,500 times 10% is equal to 1,250. So that's his increase. Therefore, his new salary is equal to the 12,500 plus 1,250. So I'm just going to add on my 12,500 to get 13,750. 13,750 is his new net salary. On the 1st of July 2010, which is the same time as he got his increase, you can see on the 1st of July, on the 1st of July. So we're using this as his new salary. Simon buys a car. He finds that he has to budget 3,500 Rand per month for the cost of the car to cover the cost of petrol, repayments, insurance and maintenance. However, no longer has to pay for public transport. Okay, so that's a part that he's saving on public transport. Determine his new total monthly expenditure. Well, we need to go back to our original table. And you can see that his total monthly expenditure was 9,500 Rand. And his public transport, which we're now getting rid of, was 500 Rand. So I'm going to take out that 500 Rand. So we need to say our 9. Let's go down to here. So our old expenditure is equal to 9,500 Rand. Cost of public transport is equal to 500 Rand. And we need to take that off. So we've got 9,000 Rand from our previous expenses. So therefore, our new monthly expenditure is going to be the 9,000 Rand from the old one, plus the cost of the car, which they've told us to be 3,500 Rand a month. So it's going to be 9,000 plus 3,500, which is going to be 12,500 Rand. Lucky he got a raise, otherwise he wouldn't be able to afford it. Right, question 5. In his new car, Simon travels 18 kilometers to his workplace in approximately 15 minutes. Determine his average speed in kilometers per hour. Use the formula distance is equal to speed times time. Now you can see we are trying to find out the speed, and that's not what this formula is telling us to use. So I always like to transfer that into a triangle. And where I've got the times is usually where the times would go here. So this would be my speed, this would be my time, and my distance would have to be at the top. This means that I can rearrange this to be my speed is equal to distance divided by time. And then it works a little bit better. Please note that because we want it in kilometers per hour, my distance needs to be in kilometers and my time needs to be in hours. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Right, our distance is in kilometers, that's 18 kilometers. And they've told us, 18 kilometers. And we're traveling in 15 minutes. Now, this is not going to work because we need to have hours. So I need to convert my 15 minutes to hours. So let's do it on a separate side here. So 15 minutes is equal to what fraction of a whole hour? It'd be 15 over 60 hours, because there's 60 minutes in an hour. And 15 divided by 60 is a quarter, or 0.25 hours. And I'm going to use that instead of this 15 minutes because I need it in hours. So it's going to be 18 kilometers divided by 0.25 hours. So on my calculator, 18 divided by 0.25 is equal to 72, and we're talking about speed, so it needs to be kilometers per hour. Please make sure that you are clear about what units of measurement we are using and make sure that you are using the same units. Example 4. You are given the task of preparing ice cream cones for your younger sister's birthday party. You decide to fill the cones with jelly and a scoop of ice cream on the top of each cone. So you can see they've drawn a picture for you to have a look at. Half a sphere, okay, which is a ball shape, is the top, and that's your ice cream. And then you've got a cone filled with jelly underneath. You assume that the scoop of ice cream is exactly half a sphere, which is a ball shape, and the cone is a perfect cone. You read up in the encyclopedia to find the formula for the volumes of these shapes, and the information from the encyclopedia is below. So a cone is one that we're going to need for obviously the ice cream cone, and the sphere is going to be for the ice cream. And this would be the cone. Remembering that this is going to obviously be half because we want half a sphere. Right, the first part of the question, show how you calculate the volume of the ice cream cone to be 72 centimeters cubed. So we're looking for the volume of ice cream cone, so therefore we're going to be using this formula for the cone. So the volume of a cone is equal to pi r squared h over 3. Looking at our diagram, we can see that r is equal to 2,5 because that would be from the outside of our cone. So here's the top of my cone, this is the r, and then the height of my cone, which is the 11 centimeters here. So I'm just going to substitute these in. Pi is 3,14 times 2,5 squared times 11 all over 3. Let's get out a calculator and we're going to type that in. 3.14 times 2.5 squared times 11 all over 3, and our answer is 71,958 ... which means that we could round that to be 72 centimeters cubed to the nearest centimeter cubed, which is what they wanted us to do. The next part is show how to calculate the volume of ice cream scoop, which we've already decided is half a sphere. So it's going to be basically the volume of the ice cream and we're going to use this formula here because that's a sphere, but obviously we're going to have to take that and halve it. So it's going to be 4 pi r cubed over 3, and I'm going to have to take that sphere formula and divide it by 2 to get half a sphere. The r is going to be the same as before. R is equal to 2,5 because the radius of the cone is the same as the radius of the ice cream scoop. So it's going to be 4 times 3,14 times 2,5 cubed all over 3, and then that answer divided by 2. Let's do it on our calculator. Brackets, fraction, 4 times 3.14 times 2.5 cubed all over 3. Close our brackets and divide our answer by 2, which gives us an answer of 32,708. Let me just check that. 708. And it carries on. And if we had to round it to our nearest whole centimetre cubed, it would be 33 centimetres cubed, which is what they wanted us to prove in the first place. If there are 35 children coming to your sister's party, what volume of jelly and what volume of ice cream do you need to make 35 ice cream cones? Okay, so we know that we've got the volume of jelly, and that was the volume from our cones, which we worked out to be 72, yes. So it was 72, and there are 35 children, so I'm going to times that by 35. And my volume of my ice cream is going to be the 33 that we've just worked out, times 35. And then I'm going to just work those two out on my calculator. 72 times 35 is equal to 2,520 centimeters cubed, and 33 times 35 is equal to 1,155 centimeters cubed. Have we answered the question? What volume of jelly? Yep, we've done that. And what volume of ice cream do we need for 35 cones? The encyclopedia states that 1 litre is 1,000 centimeters cubed. Use this information to calculate how much jelly and how much ice cream you need in litres for these cones. So basically all we're going to do is take these answers and convert them to litres. 1,000 centimeters cubed is equal to 1 litre. So to convert from centimeters cubed to litres, I'm going to divide by 1,000. So I need to take what is my total of jelly is 2,520. So jelly, labeling carefully, 2,520 centimeters cubed, which means that I need to divide this by 1,000 to make it into litres. So it's going to be 2,52 litres. My ice cream is equal to 1,155. 1,155 centimeters cubed, which I need to then convert by dividing by 1,000. So it's going to be 1,155 litres. And then if the ice cream is sold in 1 litre containers, how many containers of ice cream do I need to buy? So we need 1,155 litres of ice cream. Our options are then either 1 litre or 2 litres, and you can see that we need more than 1 litre, so we need to actually round it up to 2 litres of ice cream. Otherwise somebody's not going to have ice cream on their jelly in the ice cream cone. Example 5. Camp Corny registers a total of 240 children for a summer program, and although the days are full of various activities, each child must select a fine arts speciality and a sport speciality. Complete the contingency table for the campus selections. And you can see contingency table has been drawn for you here. Sometimes you would need to actually draw your own. We know that there are 240 children altogether, so that should be our total of our totals. And then we need to work out all of these different bits so that we can fill in the amounts that are missing. So it says 65% of all campus, very important. So all campus would be your 240 people, chose piano as their fine art. So we need to work out what 65% of 240 is. So 65% of 240 is equal to 156. So we know that there's going to be 156 people playing piano. That's the total people that play piano. 25% of the piano players. Okay, we know that there's going to be 156 piano players, so it's going to be 25% of the 156 chose swimming. So we're going to take 156 and times that by 25%. And that's going to be 39 that did swimming. Then it says 55% of all campers chose rugby as their sport. And again, all campers was your 240 people. So 55% of 240 is 132. So my total of my rugby column has to be 132. So we've filled in all of this information now. We now need to use subtraction to actually work out the missing pieces of information. To work out the total that did violin, I can do 240 minus 156, which gives me 84. To get the total that played the piano and did rugby, I need to say 156 minus 39. That'll be 117. To work out how many played rugby and the violin would be 132 minus the 117, which is 15. To work out the total that did swimming, you'd have to say 240 minus 132, which is 108. And of those 108, 39 swam, so the rest would be doing the violin. So I'm going to take off the 39, and I'm left with 69 playing the violin. And if I add up all these columns, they should add up to the right amounts. Right, now we need to use this table to answer the following questions. What percentage of the campers play rugby and violin? Of the campers, which means the total children, in this case is 240, and they want the answer in percentages. So rugby and violin is 15 children. So 15 out of the total of 240. And to change it into a percentage, I need to times my answer by 100. And I'm going to do that on my calculator. So it's going to be 15 divided by 240 times 100. And I get an answer of 6.25%. The next question is, what is the probability that a swimming champion, in other words, we're only looking at the swimmers, and how many swimmers are there? We need to look back. Total number of swimmers is 108. So out of the 108 people that are swimmers, How many play the violin? And again, express your answer as a percentage. So, violin playing swimmers is 69 out of the 108. So it's going to be 69 out of all the swimmers, which is 108 times 100. So 69 divided by 108 times 100 is equal to 63,888. So I'm going to round that to one decimal place, which is going to be 63,9%. Example 6. After 6 mathematics tests, Gugu's mean score was 71, and she hopes to raise her mean score to 75. So it's at 71 at the moment, and she wants to raise it to 75 after her next test. What score will she need to achieve in her 7th test to obtain a mean mark of 75 if all the tests carry the same weighting? Well, her present mean is equal to 71, and that was for 6 tests. Her new mean, she wants 75, and that was from 7 tests. So if she's got a mean of 71, that means the total divided by 6 is equal to 71. So therefore, the total of the first 6 tests is equal to 71 times 6, because each of those tests was shared out to be equal to 71 altogether. So if I say 71 times 6, it means that she got 426 marks so far. So that's her total. Now, in order to get 75, her total divided by 7 has to equal 75. So her total would have to be 75 times 7, which is 525. So the mark that she needs in order to make it up to 75% is going to be what she needs the total needed minus the total obtained, the mark that she's got already. So that's going to be 525 minus 426, and what she needs in order to get a 75% average is 525 minus 426 is equal to 99. So she needs to get 99 marks in order to get an average of 75. And if her average is 71 at the moment, it's very unlikely that she's going to get a 99 in her next test. Example 7. A jogger jogged at a rate of 125 meters per minute. How far in kilometers would he jog in 15 minutes? So if I want my answer in kilometers, I first have to find out how far he will be in 15 minutes, and then I need to change that from meters to kilometers. So if he's traveling 125 meters in 1 minute, I'm going to just times that by 15 to get how much he would get in 15 minutes. So 125 times 15 is 1,875 meters in 15 minutes. So I don't want my answer in meters, I want it in kilometers. So change from kilometers to meters. 1 kilometer is 1,000 meters. So therefore the distance is 1,875 kilometers. What speed was he jogging at in kilometers per hour? I'm going to change the information that they've given me to be distance is speed times time. I'm looking for speed, so therefore I'm going to have distance over time. So speed is equal to distance divided by time. And it doesn't matter which information we use. We can either use this bit of information for 15 minutes, or we could use this bit of information in 1 minute. I'm going to use this because it's better numbers to use. So I'm going to say my distance was 1,875 kilometers. I'm also using that because it's in the units that I wanted. And then I need to divide it by how many hours. And 15 minutes, if I convert that to be hours, I would say 15 divided by 60 is a quarter of an hour, which is true, and I'm going to change that to a decimal, so it's going to be 0.25 hours. I'm now going to do that on my calculator. 1.875 divided by 0.25 is equal to 7.5 kilometers per hour. Don't forget to put your units in. And then how long will it take him to jog 12 kilometers? Give your answer in hours and minutes. So we want time now. So I'm now going to write my formula in a different way. Time is equal to distance divided by speed. That's a C. And my distance is 12 kilometers. My speed, we've just worked out to be 7,5 kilometers per hour. Again, always use the information that you've already found and show all your working so that if this answer was incorrect, you would still get your marks at that point. So 12 divided by 7.5 is equal to 1,6 hours. Right, now you need to be careful because this is 1 hour and 0,6 hours, and that is not appropriate. It's not minutes. We need to convert this to be minutes by timesing this by 60 to get minutes. So let's do it on the side here. 0,6 times 60 is equal to 36. So my actual answer is 1 hour and 36 minutes. And that is our final answer. Well, that's the end of this session, and I hope it's been useful. I hope that you've actually seen where you can get marks and where you can lose marks, and hopefully you're going to be remembering where to get the marks. So good luck with those exams.